I once spent an entire weekend glued to my computer, fueled by endless cups of Edra and coffee, barely sleeping. Every now and then, I'd feel a faint itch on my arms, like a stray hair brushing against my skin. I'd swipe it away and return to staring at the screen. But as the itching grew more persistent, I began to question if I was losing my mind. Maybe the caffeine and lack of sleep were playing tricks on me. Then, I saw them. Tiny spiders, no bigger than specks, crawling on my arms. Was I hallucinating? Were these some kind of phantom bugs? I shook my head and turned back to the monitor, only to catch the glimmer of silken threads in the light, with miniature spiders drifting past my vision. They were real. My eyes darted to a crack in the ceiling, the source of this nightmare. I grabbed a can of bug spray and unleashed it into the gap. Instantly, hundreds of those tiny arachnids came pouring out, cascading down in a horrifying flood, their webs tangling around me. Another night, I returned home late from work, trudging up to my front porch. As I stepped forward, I walked straight into a massive spider web. At first, I brushed it off, but then I glanced down and saw them. Dozens of baby spiders, maybe 20 or 30, scurrying across my clothes. Panic surged through me as I spotted the parents. Monstrous things nearly the size of my hand, perched ominously on the doorframe. No way was I using that door. I bolted to the back entrance, tore off my clothes, and leaped into the shower. As the water hit me, I watched in disgust as the tiny creatures tumbled from my hair, swirling down the drain. Then there was the time I came home late, my phone on the verge of dying. I always charged it, using the outlet under my bed. Exhausted, I flopped onto the mattress and reached beneath it, fumbling for the charger. Instead, my fingers brushed against something soft and squishy. Curious, I poked at it, only to feel hundreds of tiny legs skittering up my arm. I yanked my hand back and screamed. There were at least 30 baby spiders crawling up my skin. I shook them off, yelled for my parents, and dove into the shower. Later, I learned it was a spider egg sac, and lurking beneath my bed was the mother, a monstrous thing I never wanted to meet. One night, I woke from a deep sleep to the sensation of something massive moving in my bed. Half asleep, I jolted upright, convinced it was a spider. With a burst of adrenaline, I ripped the covers off, but there was nothing there. I told myself it was just a dream, a trick of my tired mind, and forced myself back to sleep. The next night it happened again. This time, I felt it on my arms. I leaped out of bed, still groggy, and ran to my parents' room. My dad, who's never been afraid of spiders, came to investigate. He pulled back the sheets, but again, nothing. I started to wonder if I was losing my grip on reality. But the third night, it happened once more. This time, when I threw off the covers, I saw it. The largest spider I'd ever encountered, bigger than a tarantula. It darted under the bed before I could react, leaving me screaming and sprinting to my parents' room. The worst, though, was during a weekend at my grandma's house. My uncle still lived there, and I'd stay over sometimes to help him with work for some extra cash. One night, after a grueling day, I collapsed into the creaky old guest bed upstairs. I watched TV for a bit before deciding to sleep. It was a sweltering night, the kind where you constantly flip your pillow to find the cooler side. As I turned the pillow and laid my head back down, I didn't feel the soft fabric against my cheek. Instead, something hairy and unyielding pressed against my face. I shot up in terror to see a massive huntsman spider, fully grown, sitting on my pillow. I scrambled to the other side of the bed, and the movement must have startled it because it vanished in a flash. To this day, I'm convinced the thing is still lurking somewhere in my grandma's house.